Hello, I'm Zoe. I'm a nana and I'm autistic. This is my channel, Autistic Nana. Today I'm just going to talk. So this is Autistic Nana's ramblings. I'm sorry if I go off track. Hopefully I won't. I just want to talk about my diagnosis journey. So I was talking to my uncle on a Skype call about my dad. My dad died when I was 25, so that was about 30 years ago now. So my uncle was telling me about things my dad used to do when he was a kid. When he was a teenager, he bought a motorbike, took it to pieces, left the pieces lying all around in the shed for 6 months. And his dad had had enough of that. And he said to him, if you don't do something with those bits, I'm going to throw them all away. So my dad went back out to the shed, put the entire motorbike back together, and it worked. And I found that astounding. I can't comprehend that. My uncle also said that when my dad lived at home, he used to eat chicken pie for dinner every single day, which is slightly odd. So I said, maybe he was autistic. And my uncle said, for sure. So my brain just went on a journey then, thinking that I'm just like my dad. If my dad was autistic, what does that mean for me? So I finished the call with my uncle, and then I Googled autism tests online. Found a few, did a few, they all came out moderate to strong for autism or Asperger's, and I was really confused. I was 53, I think, at that point, and I'm thinking, how can I be 53 and go all that time and not know I'm autistic? That doesn't make any sense. So I decided to go on YouTube, look for autistic creators, watch their videos, and then listen to them tell their stories and their experiences of the world. And my God, it was like my life they were talking about. It was just so weird. So then I bought some books, read some books, and just thought, this is so weird. I need to find out if this is true, because I like facts. I really like facts, and I wanted the facts. So I made an appointment for my doctor. That was 6 weeks away. So in that 6 weeks, I had plenty of time to do more research. So when I finally saw the doctor, he said to me, yeah, I think I will put you through for an assessment. The NHS waiting list is long, but I'll put you on it. I was like, okay, fine. I'm patient. I'll wait. And then a couple of months after that, I was on TikTok and I saw a UK TikToker talking about the right to choose through the NHS. And she recommended a company that she'd been through, which was Psychiatry UK. So I wrote back to my doctor. Luckily, I could email them at that point because I don't like phone calls. So I emailed them and I said, I've been referred to the NHS, but please can you refer me to Psychiatry UK instead? And they wrote back and said, yep, we've done that. And then I had, let me think, a 5-month wait before I finally got seen by Psychiatry UK. So I'd filled out loads of forms and quizzes and things, sent them on, had an online interview with a psychiatrist, at the end of which she said, yep, I don't need to refer to my colleagues. I don't need another meeting with you. I'd like to tell you you're autistic. How do you feel about that? And I said, relieved, but sad. She was like, sad? I went, well, mostly relieved. But the sadness was there, because the sadness was for that poor little child that I was, that found everything so difficult. I could never understand how the other kids just ran off to play together, and how did you get included in that? And I really didn't know, and it still confuses me to this day. And how do people make friends? How do you just make a friend? So yeah, it's just a bizarre thing to discover. And then the psychiatrist wrote a report, sent the report to me, sent the report to the doctor, And in the report, she said, I need to get assessed for ADHD. And I'm like, okay, now I have to research ADHD. And I think I've got my assessment for ADHD later this month. I'll be 56 at the end of the month, so I will have my assessment just before that. And I think I might have ADHD. It would explain my piles of stuff. You may be able to see piles of stuff behind me. I have piles of stuff. It might explain my inability to just do general tasks around the house without psyching myself up for a week. It might explain why when I lay in bed at night, my whole brain just goes crazy and I can't get it to quieten down, and it takes me 3 or 4 hours to fall asleep every single night and has done for my entire life. So yeah, I might be ADHD as well. I'll let you know how that goes. But I think for me personally, getting a diagnosis was what I needed. I felt validated, felt justified. It explains a lot of things. Maybe the ADHD diagnosis might explain other things, I don't know. I mean, I have very low self-esteem. I still do. I've spent my life trying to make other people happy, not me. Yes, it's difficult. It's difficult to know who am I? I mean, I don't know anymore. Sat with this diagnosis for a year and a half now, and I'm still pretty confused about it all, really. I've given myself some allowances now, so yeah, I'm nicer to myself, slightly. My husband's more accepting as well, so that's good, because in the past we would row about me not going and asking a shop assistant for something, or not wanting to drive somewhere I've never been before. We'd row about stupid things like I don't want to go and do the supermarket shopping. So for many, many years now, I've ordered the shopping online, and then you don't get to pick the fresh fruit you want, and they send you the wrong things. And my husband moaned at me a lot for doing the expensive online shopping, but now he's more accommodating. He does most of the shopping, and I occasionally order things online that I need, so that's good. Yeah, it's weird finding out that you are autistic at 53 years of age and that you might have ADHD at 55 years of age is weird. I've got a blog, and I wrote a short thing about late diagnosis on there, and someone did point out that getting an autism diagnosis on your medical record may not always be a good idea. And with all the things that have been happening, especially in America at the moment, with RFK Jr. and his bid to cure autism, I think I can wholeheartedly agree with that. And for me personally, I just needed the facts, and I needed it in black and white, and I needed it confirmed to me. I mean, some people don't. I mean, I could have probably got away with thinking, yeah, I'm autistic. In my head, I knew way before my diagnosis that I was autistic. So that could have been enough. In the world I live in, I do have other issues. I have a severe scoliosis, which has caused arthritis in my spine when I was 30, which has really hindered my life. It's prevented me from working for quite a long time now. So I do get benefits, and being able to put an autism diagnosis on my benefit form just felt like I was making my life slightly easier there as well. So I did want the diagnosis. I do still want the diagnosis on my medical record, even though that can impact you in many weird and wonderful ways. Like if I at some point decided I was going to emigrate to another country, there's plenty of countries around the world that won't accept you if you're autistic. I think Australia is one of them. I have a lot of family in Australia, so I couldn't go and move to Australia, live near my family. I don't think Australia would take me, which their loss. So yeah, it can be restricting on your life, and you can get judged for it. I mean, when I first got my diagnosis, I had a dental appointment, I find the dentist really stressful. My husband's appointment was 1:30. My appointment was 1:45, and the dentist came out and called me first. And that wasn't right. That wasn't what I'd mentally prepared for. Ian was supposed to go in first. I was supposed to go in second. So it threw me. And my husband said to the dentist, "Oh, don't worry about her. She's autistic." So I begrudgingly went in and had my appointment, and I could tell the dentist treated me differently. I was treated almost like a child, the way she spoke to me, which I found really annoying. So I did say to my husband after that, please don't tell people I'm autistic unless I tell people I'm autistic. And that was 18 months ago. So obviously I've got to the point now where I'm now online saying I'm autistic. So, you know, I'm sure not many people will see this video, so it's not going to impact my life big time. But, you know, it's obviously got to be my decision at the end of the day. So, yeah, my husband doesn't run around telling people I'm autistic now. I tell people I'm autistic if I choose to. It's weird having explanations for things. Like I say, when I was a kid, I used to find it really hard to understand how all the kids just went off and did things together. That was weird to me. I'd quite often just stand under a tree. I really like trees, so I would just stand under a tree and watch from a distance. I was quite good at watching. Yeah, never felt the need to join in when I was little, and didn't really understand what was going on with the dynamics of human beings, really. And I do find I don't think I necessarily look at people when I'm talking to them. So quite a lot of people in my life, it takes a long time before I learn what their face looks like. I tend to look at maybe glasses or ears or hair. So if I see someone that's changed their hairstyle, that can be really off-putting for me. I'm like, I think I know that person, but I'm not sure. I don't know who they are, and I can't put the name to the face because it was the name to the hair, not the name to the face, and the hair's different. So now I'm really confused. Yeah, it's weird. I really do find it difficult now. I used to look at people but not look at people. And then my husband told me, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, that you're supposed to make eye contact with people. I don't know why the conversation came up, but it did. So after that, I would consciously try and look at people. But then in my head, I'm like, am I staring too much? Should I be looking right into their soul like this? I really don't know. It really confuses me even now. So I just glance about, sometimes looking at them briefly and then looking away again. And that's how it works for me. There's, it's amazing how being autistic affects so many things in your life. Like, I've got a really high pain threshold, and I just thought that was just me. And it is just me, but is it because I'm autistic? I don't know. I've been judged before I knew I was autistic. I had an accident, broke my wrist, and I had an accident and broke the top of the humerus and tore the rotator cuff. 2 different accidents, 2 different visits to accident emergency, 2 different nurses that basically didn't believe there was anything wrong with me because I didn't look like I was in pain and I wasn't crying. And they asked me if I wanted painkillers, and I said no, because I have a horrible aversion to swallowing tablets. And if they touch my tongue when they're going down, it makes me retch, and I often throw them back up again. And it's a really unpleasant experience. So I'm not going to take tablets unless I'm desperate to take tablets. Yeah, so they didn't believe there was anything wrong with me. And then obviously have an x-ray, and the x-ray shows you go back and see the doctor, and the doctor says, yeah, you've got a fracture. I look back on my life and think I was really unfairly treated by a lot of people. And I don't know, will I still be? Probably. I'm not a natural conversation person. I just don't know when it's my turn. I feel like I sometimes butt in and speak over people. Sometimes I get impatient and finish sentences, which I think might be an ADHD thing, but I don't know. We'll find out next couple of weeks, I suppose. Yeah, I find conversations difficult. I mean, people start a conversation with, hello, you okay? And I actually used to answer that question. It's only fairly recently that I've realised they don't want to know. And obviously I've got a lot of health issues, so I would usually start with, oh no, my back's so bad at the moment, or my shoulder really hurts, and they don't want to know. Why do they ask if they don't want to know? I don't understand. I did get quite good at talking about the weather. I live in Britain, it rains a lot and the weather's really awful, so I can do the, oh my God, it's just been raining for ages, or oh my God, we haven't had any rain for months, and I grow things in the garden and I have tortoises, so the weather does affect my life in ways that it might not affect other people's. My tortoises won't feed unless they're warm, so I need the weather to be quite nice in the summer. So I can talk about the weather. Chit chat, I don't do chit chat. I just want there to be a purpose. There has to be a reason for a conversation. I want to learn something, or discuss something I'm interested in. Yeah, and that doesn't often happen, I'm afraid. So conversation is quite difficult. There's plenty of other things I find difficult. As I say, going into shops is difficult. Going to new places is difficult. Talking to strangers is non-existent unless they specifically ask me something. So my conversational style tends to be, someone asks me a question, I answer it. Someone asks me another question, I answer it. And that tends to be how it goes. I don't think I ever start conversations. It's very rare unless I actually force myself. There's a couple of times in my life where I forced myself to speak to people at school and actually managed to get a friendship out of it, which was amazing. When I first went up to secondary school, I went up into a class and none of the girls from my previous school were in my class. I was all on my own. I was really quite distraught about that. And then I saw a girl sitting on her own. She was Japanese. And I thought, maybe she's feeling as lonely as I am. And I went over and said hello to her. She became my best friend. And then after a year, she moved back to Japan. So I was devastated. I didn't have a best friend then until the sixth form. And in the sixth form, I heard two people talking about a girl and they said, oh, she's not in today because her dogs had puppies. And I was just like, her dogs had puppies? I want to see the puppies. And then the next time this girl came to school, took all my courage. I rehearsed it in my head over and over again, and then ended up just walking over to her and saying, can I see your puppies? And she said yes. And then we left school at lunchtime and went to see her puppies, and she's still my best friend now. So she's obviously very tolerant. Yeah, brilliant. So I've made two best friends in my life by forcing myself against my own better judgment, against my will, by forcing myself to go and speak to someone and start a conversation. And that's how I got friends. But it just does not come naturally. Anyone else that's a friend is because I've met them when I'm with my husband, and I can be braver when I'm with my husband. He's like my safe person to be around. I've been with him for 41 years now, so he knows me pretty well, and he really is there to soften this tension and the anxiety that comes with meeting people and talking to people. Yeah, thank you, husband. I don't know, life is distressing sometimes. I have sensory sensitivities with food. Eating meat was always awful. I could just remember being forced to sit at the dinner table trying to eat meat that I really didn't want because it was absolutely disgusting, and you had to chew it for so long, and it was just unbearable. The only meat I could eat for 90% of my life was chicken, and that's just because it didn't taste of anything and you didn't have to chew it much. I was vegan for quite a while, and I'm now currently vegetarian because I'm so picky. There's so few things I eat that I had to get cheese back into my diet just to get a bit of protein in my diet. So yeah, I'm not quite as bad now as I was when I was younger. I mean, when I was 30, I discovered broccoli and discovered I liked it. So that was something green that I could eat. But mostly it's potatoes and cheese and cake. I quite like cake. So I eat a lot of cake, but you can't live on cake. It's not good for you. Yeah, it's difficult. Eating is difficult. Swallowing tablets is difficult. I think it's the sensory sensitivities around the texture, as well as sometimes the smell. I've got quite a sensitive sense of smell. I've got a sensitive palate. I can taste things that other people can't necessarily taste. When I was a kid, I used to drink Tizer and love it. And as an adult, my daughter gave me a can of Tizer. I took one sip and said, oh my God, it tastes like carrot. And she laughed at me and said, don't be ridiculous. And then I looked at the ingredients on the back of the can, because I obviously have to prove that I'm right. And yeah, the ingredients contained carrot. They put carrot in Tizer now. I have no idea why. I'm quite a perfectionist, and obviously you can't be perfect. So I've spent my whole life striving for something that's unachievable, which is really annoying. Obviously, that probably also affects my self-esteem. So I don't ever feel like I'm good enough, or I'm doing things perfectly and how I wanted them to be in my head. They don't come out right. And yeah, I'm really hard on myself, I think, for that. As a child, I was really quiet. My mum just said I was shy, so I just thought I was shy. But the child at home wasn't shy. So I was shy outside, but I wasn't shy at home. I was quite loud at home. I've got a younger brother, and I was really bossy to him. And my mum would use me to tell her when he was doing something naughty, because he did naughty things quite a lot. I was always a really good child and did as I was told. And I like to follow rules and, do what I'm told and be good. So he didn't. So I used to basically tell my mum whenever he did something naughty. That was my job. And I was perfectly fine with that. But out of the home, I was a silent child. I rarely spoke to anybody. I was silent at school. The teachers used to put on my reports that Zoe doesn't take part in class discussions. Zoe needs to speak more in class, and I really didn't. I remember when I was at school, my favourite subject was French when I was in middle school. And then when I went up to secondary school, I took French for an O-level, and the oral exam nearly destroyed me. We had to go into a room with 3 strangers and speak in French. Oh my God, I could have died. It was awful. I did so badly on the speaking part of the exam. I got an E for that. But I did really well in the written exam, so I still passed. I still got a C pass, I think it was, even though I horribly failed the spoken exam. So yeah, it's just school doesn't suit some people, and spoken exams don't suit some people, and they certainly didn't suit me. I'm glad they weren't in any of my other subjects. I really actually loved the whole process of learning at school, but hated the whole experience of being at school. I could never get up on time in the morning. My mum used to start trying to get me out of bed at 8 o'clock every morning. If I didn't leave the house by 8:30, I was probably going to be late. And more often than not, I left the house late and got to school, I'd say, by the skin of my teeth most of the time. So I would turn up just as the teacher was about to send the register down to reception. And occasionally I had to go to reception and get signed in by the receptionist because the register was already there. So yeah, I think you're supposed to be at school by 8:45, and I would rock up just before 9 a lot of the time, which was very stressful, but there just didn't seem to be anything I could do about it. It's like I couldn't physically get out of bed any earlier. For years, I was happy if I fell asleep at midnight and woke up at 8 a.m., had 8 hours sleep. I thought I could function like that. But that's just slowly got worse and worse over time, where it's taken me longer and longer and longer to fall asleep. And I now don't sleep very well at all, probably the worst I've ever slept. But I don't know. I don't know if that's an ADHD brain thinking a lot, or overanalyzing things because I'm autistic. I can be lying in bed at night and think about something somebody said to me 20 years ago, or even at school, like 40 years ago. It's just, why? Why does my brain do that? Why does it even matter now? Clearly somewhere in my brain it's still an event, but it's just so odd. It's like it's there to torture me. I don't want to be tortured in the middle of the night when I'm trying to go to sleep. I want to go to sleep. I've always been obsessed with animals. Absolutely love animals, and I think it's because I like looking after things, and B, I like being in control of things, and C, animals don't really judge you, they just accept you as you are, which is nice. So yeah, animals are much better than people. Probably talking too much. Something else I wanted to say that I've forgotten, but it's quite hard to think of all the things off the cuff. As I say, this is not a scripted video. This is an Autistic Nana ramblings video. So I am really rambling right now. All I can say is finding out I was autistic, whilst being a complete shock to me, After I did my first test, I said to my best friend, I did an autism test and it said I was strong to moderate autistic. And she just went, oh, that explains a lot. And I just thought, what is this? I had to really look into autism because it obviously wasn't what I thought it was. I'd met autistic people, quite a few over the years actually. And, most of them boys, I suppose, so they really weren't like me at all. And it's the classic one, isn't it, that always boys were diagnosed and girls weren't. So girls, I just internalise everything. I really do. I don't, if I'm out in public, everything is internalised. If I'm at home, I can explode, I can let things out, but I try not to. I'm really quite reserved most of the time. Takes a lot before I explode, but I do. I really do. Yeah, so that could be ADHD. I don't know. Could be just an autistic meltdown. I'm definitely more of an autistic shutdown kind of person, though. Everything's internal. A lot of the time, people looking at me would have no clue that what was happening inside me was just pure anxiety. I mean, until the psychiatrist told me I had anxiety, I didn't even have a word for what I feel. My word was miserable. I said, I feel miserable all the time, and there's no reason to be miserable. I've got beautiful husband, children, grandchildren. I should be happy, but I feel miserable. And she said that was anxiety. And I was like, I never thought I was anxious. Always since I was a child, I've bitten my nails, and I always used to think people are supposed to bite their nails if they're worried, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried about anything. And I just live in a perpetual state of anxiety, and that's normal to me. So how am I supposed to know what it feels like if that's just every day? Yeah, I find it hard to know what I'm feeling sometimes. It's quite difficult, which apparently is another part of autism. So another reason I think I take after my dad. He never used to explode. I don't think I ever saw my dad lose his temper, really. He just internalised everything. Yeah, and when he was younger, he got beaten up. It was a case of mistaken identity, apparently. Some lads beat him up, and he didn't do a thing. He didn't defend himself, didn't say a word. When I was at school, I was bullied, weirdly, for being quiet. Everybody thought I was a stuck-up snob and didn't want to speak to anybody because I was a snob. Some people called me a lesbian because I didn't speak to anybody. I don't know. Apparently I stare. So I was staring at people, so that made me a lesbian, which is weird. But yeah, but I never spoke. People could bully me all they wanted at school, and I wouldn't say a word to them. But if something like that had happened in my own home, then, they'd have got a piece of my mind. It's really weird. It's really weird being autistic. Like, if someone aims something at me, I won't defend myself. But if someone starts on, like, one of my kids or something, I go mad. I was one of those mums, when my kids were little, I was one of those mums that shouted at the other kids because the other kids weren't watching them. And if someone's kid came up and shoved or hit my kid, I would shout at their kids. It's just unacceptable. You shouldn't allow your kid just to run riot at the park, go around beating up other kids. It's just not acceptable at all. So, yeah, that's my life. I've rambled on way too long, so I'm going to stop now. If anyone wants to put their thoughts in the comments below, I'd be really interested in reading them. If you've had something like this happen in your life, if you think you might be autistic and you just want to talk about it, then please feel free to do that, and I'll reply.